And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is all about the backend integrations and all of the Zapier or the Integromately automations that I personally use in my business and that I also set up for most of the coaches. I will not be able to reveal a lot of the coach accounts here, but I'm going to go ahead, start sharing my screen, and I'm going to take it a step further by also showing you a set of agency automations that I personally use for my business. Now, without further ado, let me start sharing my screen and I'll walk you through each setup and each integration personally. So, one of the things, for instance, this is an example of a Zapier automation that I set up for my clients. So, where is the folder that I did to set this up? So, when I go back to my Zapier, one of the things that I absolutely love setting up for my clients is the webinar automations. As you would have already been, seeing what I do for my clients and everything. One of the most important things that I talk about all the time is setting up your webinar conversions or your webinar automations. And as you see here, here are a few of my client accounts, that we set up automations for. But there are two different types of webinar automations when we set things up for our clients. The first one is obviously for your live webinars, which is a lot more robust and obviously, it's a little bit more complex because there are going to be parts where there are pre-webinar reminders which are being sent out to our clients. There are post-webinar reminders, and of course, depending on when the cart opens or when the cart closes and all of that. And the second type here are the automated webinars, which means they do not have too much of information that we send out to them. As soon as somebody registers for an automated webinar, they just get one email. And because 90% of the time I set up zaps between Go High Level and a platform called Webinar Jam, which is my absolute favorite. So that is something I do. You can grab the link to my webinar jam affiliate code if you want, from the description below. But basically, webinar jam is a platform which allows you to stream your videos, where you give people a live experience, something where you see people like Russell Brunson doing that, where it's all automated, people start getting emails right then and there. So it is something like that that you put for your business. So anytime that if you and I have worked, you can see that we would have set things up. So one of the things that we set up is, for our clients, is obviously a zap between understanding the tags. So somebody registers for the webinar usually through Go High Level platform, or I use one of its white label called funnels.so. So when somebody goes to the landing page that I create for my clients on Go High Level, and then they see all of the information about the webinar because we do the copy, the funnels, all of that. Once they see the automation, the information, and then they click on the button to go to the registration step, the pop-up usually happens inside of this platform called Webinar Jam. And the reason why we do this, especially inside of Webinar Jam, is because the data that we get from Webinar Jam is pretty amazing. We will be able to see how many people actually watched at least 30 to 40% of your videos. So we know that they are warm leads, which means they have had at least some sort of touch points from you. They have opened your initial emails, your indoctrination sequences, and obviously they have watched your webinar to a certain percent and they know who you are. So there is some trust being built there. People know that they trust you. There is a know, like, and trust factor. So when you start nurturing them and taking them one step after the other, there is a high possibility that people will engage and buy at least a low ticket product from you when you begin with, or a mid ticket product from you. Okay, so when people go from one place to the other, one of the things that we do for the clients is, of course, as soon as they register for the webinar, we make sure to send the information from Go High Level into, or sorry, from Webinar Jam into Go High Level. So what we do is we give people the opportunity to put this inside of, the Go High Level system. We create a pipeline and then we put it inside of the system. So this is one of the most important automations because we know You don't have to manually move your audiences from Go High Level to Webinar Jam, or Webinar Jam to Go High Level, or whatever it is. All of the tags and everything comes into picture. So as you see here, when we go through it, when we click on Edit Zap, you can see that, people go from here, and then I need to reconnect this, and then the configuration goes into picture, and then we test it up. So the lead goes into mapping all of the fields, which is mapping their first name, their last name, and any of the information that I want. The information will be sent to the client, and obviously the test happens, and when the test happens, it says, it gives you a success information here, and then you can see the same information in the pipeline. All right, I'm not going to change anything here. So when I go back, this is one of the most important automations. This is the registration automation. Anytime somebody registers from your Go High Level by clicking on a button, which takes them through Webinar Jam, this is one of the things that happens. The second thing that we do is, for anybody who attended a webinar, we send their information into the pipeline as well. All right. The third thing that I do is for anybody who missed the webinar. So the data technically comes from Webinar Jam, and it gets connected to Go High Level, and it tells me exactly who watched it, who missed it. And those are the things that we always, if you are a done for you client, you're watching this, these are the little nitty gritty things that I always track. Also, we make sure that, we move the tags, we make sure everything is right there. If you have Kajabi, we send all of the tags from there to your Go High Level and things like that. So this has always been for live webinars, which is where we have all of these. And for another client, if I'm right, we did something with the automated webinar where we track the exact same use cases for the automated webinar, where when they register, we do a new lead registration, which you could also do, move things from Webinar Jam to Go High Level. And then if they attended the webinar, we make sure we put that into picture if they missed the webinar, and then they watch the replay, and so on and so forth. So this was another, live webinar that we did. As you can see, we know exactly when somebody completed their, webinar, and then right after that, we send people the bonus, because that is one of the strongest things that we have seen works. 20 minutes into the webinar, we, after the webinar is done, we start sending people the bonuses, the thing for which they started showing up. And this really works well. If they did not stay till the end of the webinar, they need to watch the replay for them to start getting access to the bonus and things like that. So this is one of my personal favorite automations. And then the next set of automations that I personally do for my agency is this. Let me go ahead. Which is, I use forms on my website. I did try using, every possible form builder out there. Try Moxie, Honeybook, Dipsado. And I just felt that those were a little heavy for me, for my business. So when I go into my website, funnelgrowth.design, so you can see that when you click on my site, which is the Ascension engine that I usually do for my clients, you see that there is an automation where it asks me for all of the questions. And when somebody completes all of the necessary information, it takes them to the next page where they can actually book a call with me. Okay, depending on when they want to choose, and all of this, they can actually book a call with me. Once they book a call, what happens is I use something called Integrately. So this is really good. It's not Integromat. I know it's make.com, but this is integrately.com. You could try this as well. And one of the automations that happens here is that when a form is submitted inside the fill out forms, I use something called the fill out forms, which is the exact same thing that I would also set up for my, what do you say, for one on one coaching clients, pretty much, which is, this is not supposed to show an error, but yeah, I just think this is just how it shows up. So when a client submits an information and then they book a call, I take this information to send all of this into Trello. So inside Trello, I have a sales pipeline which actually shows where people are coming in from, and it gives me most of the information, which is like their first name, their last name, all of that information. And also, there's one thing I use what's called TidyCal for the appointments. So, as you see here, everything maps inside of TidyCal and then it pushes all of this information into the the Trello sales pipeline, which is called, the new alignment. It's a list inside of my Trello. I've tried every possible thing out there, and what I see is forms to tidycal automation to sending the information to Trello, and then inside of Trello I have a few automations which are set, which actually takes care of everything. This is the exact same thing I map out for one-on-one coaching clients as well, because if you are into one-on-one coaching and you think you don't need like really complex systems, this is one automation I would highly recommend. I have tried Calendly, I've tried Equity. I don't like it, but this is something I bought from AppSumo, and this is just like a $29 product, which is TidyCal. And then I map it with my Trello. I sometimes pay for Trello, sometimes it's just the free version that I use. And then I go ahead and do that. So this is the lead gen kind of an automation where people submit and then the information is sent to me. I also receive an email from Trello from Fallout saying that somebody actually submitted the information. Okay, the second thing is, earlier, which I had here was to send a WhatsApp message through, I think, one of the platforms, right? Send a WhatsApp message for every new TidyCal booking. So that's also something I created. The third automation that I created is I manage my Pinterest from within Trello. And I saw this, I think, on one of the YouTube videos. And I was really like fascinated by what I saw. So obviously, what I did was I put all of my Pinterest information, inside the card, the description, everything inside of Trello. And when I add a label, I want it to get pushed to, Pinterest automatically. So the only thing, the problem that I had there was with the board selection, and I also did a tweaking. I can probably do another video about it. So that's one of the things. And these are a few automations that you could do if you are a coach, especially doing one-on-one coaching, right? The second thing, like I mentioned, is your webinar automations, which is where you map out for a new lead, you map out for an attended, a missed, and a watch replay. So it sends all of the information from a platform like Webinar Jam. I've tried this using Zoom, but it does not give me enough data. So you can do this from a platform like Webinar Jam, Zap it to go high level. So all of the tags, all of the information, everything is segmented, and the backend automations, like I always show you in each and every single video, all of that creates those emails and then it sends those emails. This is in fact one of the best ways I have seen to make use of Zapier, also make use of AI, because it tells me exactly how to nurture people, where to send them, and what to do things and so on. So these are like my two of my best use cases. And also the third use case that I would highly recommend is with your lead generation. I know if you're inside of Go High Level, you may not need your lead gen kind of, Zap. But if you use something like Active Campaign and Go High Level, I would highly recommend using this automation, which is once somebody downloads your lead magnet, automatically add them to Active Campaign, give them specific tags, and also tell them where they are at. Also the same thing with the quiz, which is once somebody submits the quiz, you can send a Zap, to Go High Level to say what tag they have applied, what's their result, and start sending them emails. So these are a very few of the automations that I have actually set up